All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rachak giving double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Peace and salutations to the Akim, the brethren out there on the highways and byways pushing this truth in 100% sincerity. And peace and salutations to the few and sincere sisters who do believe in this gospel. So I want to entitle this lesson, Our Power is With Us When We Turn Back to Him, right? And speaking of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, which is the power, right? Or going into the Hebrew word for power, which is Allah, right? Or our God, right? Whose name is Yahweh, which being the Heavenly Father. And we receive the power of the Heavenly Father through His only begotten Son, whose name is Yahushua, right? Who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? And Yahweh, being the Heavenly Father, is the only God or power of the nation of Israel, right? Which is the God of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So, just reading this morning, reading through the book of Judith, specifically chapter 5, which is what I'm going to go into a little bit today. Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson, right? And, Lord willing, the spirit, we go off the spirit because I got a couple of precepts, but, once again, Lord willing, this will be an edifying lesson, right? So, but in the book of Judith, it goes into, how when we were in compliance with the Heavenly Father, the law, statutes, and commandments, and what was ordered for us, right? The Lord was with us. The Lord was with us in battle. The Lord was with us in when other nations came against us. And typically other nations were sent against us, right, when we went off. But when we turned back to the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua was with us. And the Lord is going to be with us in these times as well, right? Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is going to be with us in this time, in the coming tribulation, right? For those of us who turn back to the Lord, right? Let me go here in Isaiah. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 20. And it says, "It shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote him, but shall stay upon the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, the Holy One of Israel, in truth." Right? So the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, is going to be with Israel, or Yasha Allah, right? Which is the Hebrew name for Israel, right? The Lord is going to be with us. And the Lord is going to be, working with His people in the coming days, especially in the coming days of tribulation. You know what I'm saying? So this is where we're supposed to have our faith in, where we're supposed to have our faith in Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, right? And not upon anything else, not upon anything in this world, not upon anything anything of ignorance, anything, that is going to take our focus off of the truth in this ministry, right? Verse 21, it says, "The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness," right? Because, not all of our people are going to take heed to this ministry and take heed to this truth or the scriptures or believe on Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Not all of our people are going to do what's needed to receive salvation, because there's only one elect, right? There's only and the elect is the remnant, right? And that remnant is the what? The 1/3. The 1/3 of the nation of Israel, right? Starting with the 144. So knowing and understanding that, right, we got to know that, when it comes to this truth, it's the same situation as it was back then. It's just, the difference is the Lord ain't, dealing with all of Israel. But it's the same as it was back then, as we're about to read here in the book of Judith, right? So I'm going to go here to Judith. I'm going to start at chapter 5 and verse 11, right? And it says, actually, really, because this is Holofernes, I believe that's how you pronounce the name. Holofernes, which is a captain of, a captain of the in the Assyrian army. He was speaking to one of the captains of the Moabites and the Ammonites, right, to inquire about Israel and who they are, and what these people are, who these people are, right? So I think I might start at verse 1. I'm gonna start at verse 1, and I'm gonna probably jump around a little bit. Right, verse 5, it says, then it was declared to Salakia, verse 1, chapter 5, verse 1. Then it was declared to Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Assur, or the Assyrians, that the children of Israel had prepared for war, and had shut up the passages of the hill country, and had fortified all the tops of the high hills, and had laid impediments in the champion countries. It says, wherewith he was very angry, and called all the princes of Moab, and the captains of Ammon, and all the governors of the seacoast. And he said unto them, tell me now, ye sons of Canaan, who this people is that dwelleth in the hill country, and what are the cities that they inhabit, and what is the multitude of their army, and wherein is their power and strength, and what king is set over them, or captain of their army? And why have they determined not to come and meet me more than all the inhabitants of the west, right? Because if you read in the previous chapter, the Israelites had cried unto the Lord, had cried unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to give them strength, to protect them, right? To protect them and to, give them the strength that they need to be able to fight against the Assyrian army, right? And this is where we get our power. This is where, we get our power from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and being in alignment with the will of the Lord. That's where we get. All right, we got a phone call. But yeah, it's going to be the same thing in this time, in this day and time, right? Where we're going to have to lean on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to get us through this tribulation, the great tribulation, right? Spoken about in Daniel 12:1, spoken about in Matthew 24, Luke 26, I believe. Yeah, in various other places in the scriptures, Jeremiah 30:7, where it's spoken about Jacob's trouble, the great tribulation, that we're going to have to go through in the great tribulation that the elect is going to be saved out of, right? So verse 4, actually, let me start, Salakia, let me start at verse 6. It says, this people are descended of the Chaldeans, right? And it's talking about Abraham, because Abraham lived in the land of the Chaldeans before he was before he went to he journeyed to the land of Canaan, right? It says, and they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, which were in the land of Chaldea. For they left the way of their ancestors because the sons of God had went off, and began to, serve other gods. Because before it was the nation of Israel, we were called the sons of God, the sons of the Heavenly Father, right? It says, for they left the way of their ancestors and worshiped the power of heaven, the power whom they know. So they cast them out from the face of their gods, and they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days. And their power commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned, and to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt, and where increased with gold and silver and very much cattle. Right? It says, but when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt, talking about Jacob and his sons. Right? Or they went down into Egypt and sojourned there, while they were nourished, and became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation. Therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them, and dealt subtly with them, and brought them low with laboring and brick, and made them slaves. Right? And the same thing, we were made slaves here in Babylon, right? We were brought over here to Babylon as slaves, right? Because Egypt is synonymous. Egypt is synonymous with Babylon. I'm talking about when the scriptures are talking about modern day Egypt. It's synonymous with Babylon the Great, specifically in Revelation chapter 11, right? It says, then they cried unto their power, and he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues. So the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. And Yahweh dried the Red Sea before them, and brought them to Mount Sinai, and Cade's barn, Slakia, I think, there, Slakia. It says, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all them of Esbon, and passing over Jordan, they possessed all the hill country. And they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Pharisite, the Jebusite, and the Sychemites, and the Girgashites, and they dwelt in that country many days. And whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the power that hateth iniquity was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. But now are they returned to their power, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it is desolate. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power be for them, and we become a reproach before all the world, right? So what it's basically saying is that when it comes to the nation of Israel, when it comes to us as a people, our strength comes from when we are in alignment with the agenda of the Heavenly Father, right? That's when the Lord is with us. But when there's iniquity with us, as you can see and you can really see that in the book of Judges, but also in, 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, when Israel went off, that's when the surrounding nations, or the surrounding nations of people, came against us and attacked us, right? And the Lord allowed that, right? But when we turned back to the Lord, we were given that strength and that power to get them up off us. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's going to be something similar in this day, right? Now, we are not going to go to war physically with Esau, right? Until the kingdom of Esau is destroyed, right? Well, actually, Yahushua is going to come in and wage war with, Esau, his kingdom, and all of the nations that are aligned with his kingdom, right? Yahushua is going to come back and wage war with the heathen nations, right? But Esau is still going to wage war against us and our people. You know what I'm saying? And, it's a spiritual war mainly, but, during the tribulation, it turns physical. Now, there's going to be Jake that's going to rise up and, try and go at Esau and try and, combat with them themselves. But, ultimately, because they are the 2/3, they're going to be overpowered. You know what I'm saying? And they're not going to win. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord is not going to be with them. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah is only going to be with his elect, right? And the Lord is going to protect and hide his elect, those of us who are, you know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be some of the elect who are going to, lose their lives for the sake of the ministry. But for the most part, the elect is going to be protected in that day, right? The elect is going to be protected from the trials and tribulations that Esau is going to put on us, right? So yeah, man, I wanted to just get this quick lesson in, giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash, right? And